Welcome to From Dial Square to Where, the top one, nice one sorted episode. how you doing, SiCo, Manc?
Not too bad, my mate Andrew. Not too bad yourself.
Yeah, I'm very good. I'm really sorry about what happened a couple of weeks ago. Just to fill everyone in, I completely messed up. I didn't send. I had problems with Wi-Fi. I thought I'd sent SiCo the link to join the and turns out I didn't. So left him waiting. So I'm really sorry about that, mate. I'm glad to have you on today.
Very busy man, me mate. Very busy man.
LeAfrican Gooner, how are you doing?
Could be better. Was a bit excited hearing the stories that potentially Dracula might be out, but obviously our board is a bunch of cowards, so could be better. But I'm hoping tomorrow we have a good performance from the young guns.
Yes, we'll come on to that shortly. I'm not sure about that, to be perfectly honest. And Nytram Goonie, how you?
Not too bad, but I've been waiting since Saturday for this announcement that hasn't come yet, so pretty disappointed still.
Well, my phone battery's been dead by about lunchtime every day this week because I just keep checking it all the time in case I get any notifications. So
It's
nightmare. True. I know. Well, I don't know what they're doing. I really don't. I mean, I'm sure this episode, as much as I'd like to keep it away from all that sort of stuff, is going to be dominated by the managerial change, as always. So the latest, there's too many tweets to mention, but the latest one going around today, and it has been going around for a little while, his name, but it's just a wash with, I don't know where it's specifically come from, but Nuno being the one that everyone is talking about today. So have a quick whiz round on this, just to get everyone's opinion quickly on whether you'd be happy with Nuno. I did a quick poll at lunchtime today, and it's just finished. And the majority of fans, although it's fairly even, I think it's 59-41 in favour of Nuno. What's your thoughts? First, I'll go to you, SiCo, first. What's your thoughts on Nuno if he was to be announced?
I'd be really happy, to be honest, going off the names that have been mentioned that are actually realistic. I mentioned him on a podcast about a month ago, saying I couldn't believe no one had mentioned his name. He's got all the right credentials. I'm just not sure how feasible it is that we could actually get him in. Seems a pretty steady ship at Wolves. They've got plenty of money. He's well loved there, so I'd be very surprised if he jumped ship, but I'd be delighted if he did. Delighted, definitely.
What about you, Nytram?
Like I was saying earlier off air, basically last week, if you'd asked me who I'd want for the Arsenal job, my first choice has been Allegri and my second choice was Enrique. If you asked me last week about Nuno, he wouldn't have come up with my thoughts. But again, we need a change. He's a good manager. He can play against a big team. He knows how to set a team up, and he's got Premier League experience. I'd put him ahead of Arteta and Ljungberg, to be fair. So out of the three, if that was a choice, I'd take Nuno.
And you, African Gooner, what's your thoughts?
So yeah, like Nytram, I think I was more looking to Luis Enrique, but then he got grabbed back by Spain. I wanted Mourinho as well because I thought he was a serial winner. To be honest, his name doesn't kind of excite me, but at the same time, we need to consider that he's done really well with Wolves. They're fifth in the league. I think he is a type of coach that wouldn't take any nonsense. I definitely would take him over Arteta because I think Arteta is a risky move, and at this moment, we don't have the luxury to do a risky move and take someone with no managerial experience. So I'm not overly excited over the moon, but I'd take him because I think he would do a good job and he could reunite the fan base, and at least we could finish off the season potentially strong.
Well, I'd be happy as well. I think that they've got a very exciting, quick, dynamic way of playing. I mean, they smashed us last season. After a slow start, they have been doing really well this season. My first choice, though, hasn't changed from, well, a few weeks ago. What I'd really like to see happen would be someone's come in for the rest of this season and next season and bring Freddie on, so that in a season and a half's time, we could look at appointing him then. And I think Benitez would be perfect for that, so he could learn from Benitez. And he knows everything there is to know about the Premier League. He'd make us solid pretty much straight away overnight. He's not the most exciting manager in the world, no, but he's a successful manager. and he knows the Premier League, like I said, and all the players in it. So, I mean, that's my dream that could happen. That because we know it come out today or yesterday that Freddie's only got his A license and he needs his pro license. So I think that'd be ideal, personally. And they obviously think very, very highly of Freddie. They really do want to keep him in the club, and he has openly said that he wants to be a number one. So if we don't keep him interested, then someone else is going to get the benefit of him, because I do believe that he's a really good coach.
Yeah, Andrew, what do you sorry to interrupt, what do you think about Arteta and Freddie as a number 2? Do you think that could work?
I don't see what Arteta has got over Freddie, apart from working with Pep Guardiola, of course, who's the best manager in world football, along with Klopp, probably. I don't see what credentials he holds, because people literally in the same sentence on Twitter, you say, absolutely no way with Freddie, we need more experience. And then on the other hand, they'll say, but I'll go for Arteta. I don't get it. Just because he's a best teacher doesn't make him the best coach.
No, not at all.
I think with what you've just said there as well is why would Freddie go underneath Arteta? Why wouldn't he want it the other way around?
Exactly.
They're equals at this moment in time. So.
Well, if you're going on their playing credentials and their experience in their career as a whole, I mean, Freddie pisses all over Arteta.
Yeah. And also, didn't Freddie manage the under 23s?
Yeah.
So he's actually got that experience of a first team squad, whereas Arteta went straight from Arsenal to number 2 at Man City. So if anything, Freddie's probably got more experience when it comes to coaching the team.
He has. Yeah, he's actually got coaching experience.
Yeah, and at the club as well, so he already knows all the backroom setup, so that's a huge advantage as well.
Exactly, and we definitely want to get someone in who is going to make use of the young players. If you're not going to go down the Freddie route, we definitely got to get someone in that's going to really coach them and encourage them, because I'm worried about the players we've already got playing. They're rapidly declining, and B, we don't want to waste this amazing crop that we've got coming through at the moment. It's the strongest we've had for a couple of decades of players coming through the academy. And if we don't really bring them on and nurture them, then we could lose those as well, in the same way that, City are losing their best crop of players like Jadon Sancho, etc. So I really want to see those come through and at least get a chance to come through. So if we'd have gone for Mourinho, for example, that wouldn't have happened. But absolutely no way. He wants to win now, and he would just freeze them out. Yeah. So yeah, that's important to me, and I don't know whether Nuno will do that. Hopefully, he will. But that'd be my ideal situation. And if we could actually get someone like Benitez and say, look, you have got this job for 18 months, but it is on the proviso that Freddie is your assistant, and you're going to nurture him and bring him through to be our next long-term manager. I think that'd be great, because I saw the under-23s a couple of times last season, and the way that they play football was pretty devastating, to be honest. It's very attractive. It's very
nice to see a team that still plays the Arsenal way, mate.
Yes, exactly.
And actually, guys, I was just going to say, Rafa Benitez at the end of this weekend is going to be free. So that's not a bad shout, because the Chinese...
Is that actually how it works? Because that's what I was just going to ask Andrew. I was just going to say, is that how it works, that he's actually free to negotiate something outside of it or not?
He's not going to last around. Someone's going to snap him up immediately.
The only problem with Rafa is he's never broken a contract. I know it's China and it works differently, but I think that's the only thing that could stop him. But again, he probably has a point to prove as coming back to the Premier League.
Well, sorry, go on.
No, and I was just going to say, I was just adding with a big team. I mean, he had Newcastle, guys. Could we really, I mean, he didn't really have a squad there. He didn't have the funds, which is why he left, right? And he managed Liverpool a long time ago. So, yeah, in terms of redemption, this would be a perfect opportunity for him to come to a potentially top 4 club and show us what he can do. And especially knowing that he's a defensive coach, I honestly think we need someone like him or Simeone who's going to fix our defense, because for the last 5 to 8 years, that's where we've been struggling. And I'd rather be able to defend and then play beautiful football than have someone who's just going to come in and start, playing Wenger ball, like the artistic football.
Yeah, I don't think that. Well, it sounded almost like you saying autistic football, and that's what we're playing at the moment. To be perfectly honest, so but I don't honestly think that Rafa Benitez is a solely defensive manager. He's very good. His teams are very good and solid, but I think that he obviously had to play that way with Newcastle because he had a team with championship players.
I think it's a big myth as well that people just seem to think because somebody's defensively sound, they don't play good football. You know,
exactly
people's arguments against Allegri, people's arguments against Simeone. But I've watched a lot of Juventus and Atletico Madrid, and I've never found them boring to watch.
No, not at all. And also going with Mourinho. People have said that Mourinho's defensive. Before Man City, he had the highest goal tally at the end of the season, highest points tally. So he wasn't defensive at all. It is a myth.
Yeah, they weren't defensive when they walloped us 6-1 or whatever it was when he was at Chelsea.
Exactly.
No, exactly. Well, people thought that way about George Graham, but in 1991 we were the highest scorers in the league that year, and we actually won the league in '89 against the best Liverpool team probably there's ever been at that period, and we won it on goals scored. You know, because we didn't have goal difference.
Can I ask
the
you,
thing
Andrew?
is, if we didn't,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, obviously, because you're a bit of a Benitez fan. Do you not find it very odd that Newcastle didn't give him any money and then they've give Bruce money?
It's very odd.
I couldn't get my head around that at all, that he was begging for money all the time. They didn't give it him, he left, and then they've give it to Bruce, who, to me, isn't a terrible manager, but he's not Rafa Benitez, not even close.
The same thing's going to happen to Pochettino now. Mourinho, he's going to get a load of money in the summer. If not January, and I don't think it will be January because Levy is not a big fan of January, as he's shown over the last God knows how many years. But you can bet your bottom dollar that he'll get a good squad rebuild in the summer, and that probably
I think they might do, but I think they'll have to get rid of some players. I don't see how they can just go out buying and not get rid of. You know, we've seen it firsthand when you build a new ground, the pressure it puts you under financially. Whether you've got stingy owners or not. Levy's not much better than what we've got when it comes to being very shrewd money-wise. And I think they've got to maybe look at maybe what we might have to do with Aubameyang, which is get rid of a big key focus point to then spread the wealth around the squad as a whole. Maybe getting rid of Kane. They could get huge money for him.
And the thing is with that, their wage budget isn't as high, so are they going to bring players in and put them above Harry Kane's wage bracket? Because if you're going to get big players, they're obviously going to demand big money, and you can't have someone come in, say, on 200 grand a week when you've got Harry Kane on like 120, 130 grand a week. It'll break their wage structure.
Just in response to that, Sai, I did want to point out that we talk about selling Aubameyang for 70 million, but guys, world-class players, that's how much they cost these days. So if we did sell Aubameyang, we'd replace him with, for example, Upamecano in defense, who would cost 60, 70 million. And there's all that money spent, and we would have to inject more money into the club anyways.
Well, so, and how would we replace those 30 goals a season guaranteed as well?
That as well,
See, I'm not sure we have to replace 30 goals a season in one man. I think we'd be much better off spreading it out between two wingers and Lacazette.
Who's doing that though? Who's doing that?
That's the issue, isn't it? Is who we're going to get to do that? But I think we could. I think we could definitely.
I can't believe we didn't get Ziyech from Ajax. That Hakim Ziyech. That's a joke. That's an absolute joke. When he's available for about 35 million. He could be one that could get you probably a dozen goals a season quite comfortably.
We could have had Mahrez. It was the same thing.
Mahrez was another one.
Mahrez thing. It's a cycle.
Exactly.
Penny pinchers.
Just another quick one. We've had a question. So hi to everyone that's watching. Got Tony Turner, Frank Gunner, and Tony Turner has asked us who's the best caretaker until the end of the season. Well, Freddie can't do more than 3 months, apparently.
Does anybody actually know the legalities of that, though? Whether you can, because it's football, you tend to be able to get around these things.
You must be. And what I was thinking is, in that case, because we've also got, obviously, got the BFG with us.
I don't want him anywhere near
No. Listen, I'm going back to what.
Not a fan.
I'm going back to what you just said, SiCo. In that, if he is got a pro license, that'll be a way around it as well.
It's just that I go back to when it was happened with Southgate, and he managed to get round it. He didn't have the right license either when he was at Borough, I think it was. Yeah, he didn't have the right license and got away with it. So you know what I think also like money tends to talk. You know.
Yeah, and I think also they can do their licenses while they're actually in the job. As long as he's making effort to get that license, he's probably okay.
If it could be got round, then there's absolutely no brainer. I'd just stick him in charge. Tonight.
Totally agree, because I think although we all seem to want different ideal managers, I think we could all agree on the fact that giving us another 6 or 7 months to identify the right guy is the right thing to do.
Exactly, and I would stick to that though. What happened to Solskjaer, and he got the immediate lift. And I think that would happen with us straight away.
Yeah, we'd get a bounce.
But I would 100% give it until the summer and not appoint Freddie, not appoint anyone else. And I would see, it could be a good long audition for Freddie as well, because I wouldn't wash my hands of it straight away and think he's not going to be the man. Because what's to say he's not going to be the man? And do you know, also, just quickly, people are also absolutely having orgasms over Nagelsmann. And I can understand he's doing a fantastic job, right?
For me,
he's 32 years old. He got given that opportunity in the Bundesliga without, he started his first managerial job when he was 28, I believe, and someone was brave enough to give him that job. Now, why can't we be the brave ones and appoint someone like Freddie?
Yeah, Andrew, I think it's because, again, it goes back to the luxury, right? We've been in such a decline for so many years that we're not patient anymore. For me, at least as a fan, right, I want instant success. That's why I want someone who's proven, like Mourinho or, perhaps even Simeone or Allegri. Managers that have been proven in top leagues, in the Champions League, over and over, right? So for me, that'd be my argument towards why we can't give someone like Freddie, even though I would like to give him a chance. If we have the opportunity to get Rafa Benitez or someone that can provide us instant success, I'm willing to go for it because I'm tired of waiting.
My answer to that, though, would be, how do you know that we wouldn't get instant success under Freddie?
Yeah, I think
unless you give him a chance.
A better chance just on historic.
We appointed Emery on the back of his 3 Europa Leagues. And what he did, that's a successful manager that we appointed right there.
I think the problem with that's going to be, though, there's so much that needs fixing at the club. I mean, we've got the defence, we need a playing style, we've got philosophy. So I think realistically, we're not going to have instant success. It's going to take at least a year for whoever it is, even if it is a top manager, to come in, sort out their squad of players. Because let's look at it, our defence isn't great. So we're going to need a few defenders. We're going to need some signings. We need a defensive midfielder. I don't think the balance on the wings is right, because obviously the Bangman gets pushed out to the left. You've got Martinelli, you've got Saka. But again, there's a lot of work there that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big part. Sorry, Irfan, go for it, mate.
I was just going to say, I want to rephrase because that's a good point. It's not instant success. It's instant change. We see instant change. Like, for example, with Emery, we saw he was playing from the back, or he tried to, push teams high up the field, and then he kind of gave up that tactical nous. So I want a manager that's able to change something where we can see, okay, we're trying something different. At the moment with Emery, we haven't seen anything.
No, exactly. Do you know what I mean? There's so much that we need to go into here. Seriously, on this occasion, I mean, we're going to just have to stick to this subject because there's a lot of what I really want to talk about and get your guys' thoughts on and everything as well. And we've got questions coming in. So on this occasion, and I asked you guys obviously to bring your tweets to the table, which is what this show's all about. But we're going to have to carry on talking about this because there's another option, because sacking the manager straight away without obviously having someone to go to. And it seems that this is the problem with the club. They're panicking. I saw a tweet today saying that the board are worried about sacking him because we've got games every 3 days coming up. I mean, that, don't get me started on that. That is just makes me furious. I mean, it's like ripping off a plaster. Just get it done.
Andrew, imagine if there was a period in football where players go away and play internationally for a couple of weeks. We could have done one of them, couldn't we? One of those would have been ideal.
We've just gone past
like
2 of them,
Spurs
haven't we? Mate. But people, we're not going to grind to a halt by sacking the manager. And do you know also what we've got under our roof is Joe Montemuro, the Australian guy who's looking after the ladies football team, who could set up our players to play in certain areas of the pitch, funnily enough. I mean, worst case, he's actually got them playing fantastic football, and his attitude, I don't know if you've heard any interviews with him. I mean, God, that guy is absolutely bang on.
It's positive,
Yeah, I mean, he's actually been schooled in the Arsenal way. And this leads me on to my next point, which I want to discuss with you guys. Edu has supposed to have been appointed to set up the way of playing, the Arsenal way. That's his job, right? From the youth setup all the way through the academy, all the teams are supposed to play in the same way. So there's no difference from stepping up from one age group to another. And that covers the ladies as well. And it's a way that obviously Barcelona and Ajax have been working for countless years. So what's happening to this guy, Edu, whereby I think he must be mute because I've never heard him speak for a start. And what's he actually doing sitting there watching the matches week after week after week when he's supposed to be implementing this style of play? So surely he's actually watching these games and seeing what's happening on the pitch and thinking that is not the style of play we want as a club. Yeah. So I don't understand what's going on in that point of view, to be perfectly honest, as well. I mean, what's your guys' take on what his role's supposed to be? Do you think I'm wrong?
No. So, Andrew, for me, I think it's a myth. It's a myth because if he was in charge of the culture or the type of style that we're playing, he would have to be in the training ground, right? Implementing kind of this message to Emery and the coaching staff that this is the way that we want to play. I think that is a myth, and I think that it's all down to Emery in terms of how we play. And I think if you look at the women's team, if you look at our under-23s with Per Mertesacker, before it used to be Freddie, and you look at Emery, we play different styles of football throughout those three different groups. So for me, I haven't seen Raul say anything apart from when we signed David Luiz and he was in that introduction video. Apart from that, really, I haven't seen him kind of leave a footprint on the club. And it is fair to say that it's been only a couple of months, guys, but I mean, still, right? He needs to be doing much more, in my opinion.
Nytram, what's your thoughts?
Oh, go on, man.
I think the only thing I've seen him do is obviously probably help with the David Luiz transfer and help the Martinelli transfer, but I haven't actually seen him do anything. And that's the style of play. We all, the under-23s, the women, they all play differently. And it's probably a good job that a good job that the under-23s and the women don't play like the first team, because it comes down to coaching, and that lies with Emery and his team.
Yeah,
the philosophy's not there. There's no pressing.
I think with Edu, he's been brought in and he's maybe there to say, look, this is the ethos of Arsenal Football Club. This is what we expect. Now you go make it happen. Whereas, like you say, Montemoro's making it happen. Mertesacker's making it happen. Emery is the guy who isn't making it happen. And he's trying, but it's just not working, is it? It really isn't working.
No, I was really encouraged after the Sheffield United game when it came out that he stayed behind and was chatting to the fans for a good 15, 20 minutes. And I thought that sounds really good. And they're not going to have held back, are they, after that game? That's the fans in the ground. So the fact that it's been so quiet has just been really disappointing.
Well, that's it, Andrew. At the start of the season, you had Edu walking down the walkway to the Emirates. You had Raul stopping in his car chatting to people. Where's that gone? It's easy to do. It's easy to do when things are going well, but I don't think fans really care when it's going well. They care more to see your face when it's going badly because they want answers. And when they're all just hiding the way they are at the moment, Josh came out and give it his spiel in the summer, get excited. Where is he now? Why is no one explaining themselves? I get angry with, people who have press passes. I've said it. Ask them some proper questions. Because all they do is they ask them fluffy questions so they get invited back again and they get a nice sandwich and a decent drink.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than say, look, tell me why this is good enough. To Unai himself, you keep saying we're going to improve and do this. Why hasn't it happened? We're not picking up any points. Explain yourself.
That is exactly why I was so annoyed when the We Care Do You statement came out the other day. It was just passive. It was weak, in my opinion. And it should have been said, we need answers now. We need action now to change this utter garbage performance we're watching week in, week out on the pitch. And it was just far too weak. And we've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks for that. And that was a positive issue. But when it all started this week, Eddie, when that first thing came out, and I did a podcast and said, that's great, but the whole point of this is that we need to continue it with regular dialogue, and that group of people should have some representatives who have regular dialogue with the club. Get invited to, maybe quarterly meetings with the fans, for example, to find out what's going on, just to keep in touch, really. So we've got a voice. The fans have got a voice. And when it actually got to about, I think it must have been maybe this season, after the Watford game, it was obvious for all to see that we were just going absolutely nowhere. Fairly soon after that match, we should have actually had something come out from the fans. That group should have been contacting the club and saying, look, what the hell's going on? It was just left and left and left and left and left, and we're not doing anything. And it just frustrates the hell out of me.
I agree with you, mate. I thought the exact same when I saw your tweet about it the other day, and I thought, all we're doing with that fan group thing is the exact same thing as the board, which is just empty words. It's like now we're obviously at a point where people have hit the wall with frustration. They don't know whether to wave white hankies, not turn up and walk out. So surely it should be these guys that are leading the way with that's saying, look, this is how we all come together. This is how we all make it, make it known that we're not happy, and they're not doing that. I can't be doing with it. I really can't. I find it really boring.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any point to it at all.
Well, I don't want to go through, and I'm not after any kind of what's it, but I started that process myself 2 weeks before it all came out, and I did the petition a couple of weeks before all this stuff came out, and the fact that they just don't even respond to not emails, but tweets, direct tweets. Yeah, I've been contacted them a few times, get nothing. So they're not a voice of the fans because they haven't asked they haven't taken any of my opinions into account. They haven't listened to anyone else. They're a voice of the fans, Andrew, just the fans that they want to listen to.
Yeah, it's true.
It just pisses me off. It really does. And if you're going to do something, you've got to get it done, and you've got to be firm because they're just worried about upsetting people. Well, the club at the moment, with their representatives as Raoul, Edu, Vino, all of them, they're disrespecting us massively. They're not worried about upsetting us, calling us a noise. So these statements that go out, and they're tiptoeing around, don't want to call for anyone's head or don't want to upset anyone. Well, that's just bullshit. We've got to get answers. We've got to get answers now, and that's what really annoys me about it. Anyway,
perhaps they have the wrong leadership in that group, right? We don't really know who's in charge of it, kind of the individuals and things like that, and they probably get flooded with a lot of petitions and things like that. So I can see perhaps why they struggle, but that just, in my opinion, means that they don't have the right leadership. I guess characteristics to push it forward and say, you know what, we're going to put out a statement, because right now at the moment they're the ones who basically are representing the fans more than Arsenal Fan TV, right? Everyone knows about the statement, so when it came out for the second time, it was able to grasp a lot of our attention. So perhaps they need to come up with the third statement saying, you know what, on Saturday against Norwich, or the next home game, this is what we need to do. We need to walk out at this minute. We need to have these banners with these specific messages that are not rude or, condescending, but are delivering the message that the fans really are feeling. Respectful.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is our fan base at the moment, the only thing we're united with is that we want a change of manager. You've got so many sections of Arsenal fans. I mean, you've got the old school Arsenal fan from the Highbury days. You've got the 2000s Arsenal fans. You've got the obviously AFTV block. You've got Arsenal fans that literally just, like the other day, it infuriates me so much. So you're watching the game 10 minutes into the second half and people come back to the seats. It's like, it's so split, and it's one of the only stadiums that actually see it happen. Fans are coming back. It's just full of tourists. Like, not in a bad way, but it's just it infuriates me so much.
Yeah.
But sorry, Nytram, don't you think somehow we can all come together because we have
definitely need to.
We want to change, right? So everyone can be willing to put their differences aside, because for the betterment of Arsenal and our passion and our love, which is Arsenal Football Club, we need to see change, and it needs to happen now because this is going way too far.
And that's the thing. We need to come together as a collective. Sorry, go on, SiCo.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of people that I know personally that are sort of giving up the season ticket. You guys know, or you don't know, but I've just stopped going because it's a long journey for me. It's a fair few £100 every week. So I've just put in my money where my mouth is. Whereas I've got friends who have season tickets who aren't going, but are then still selling the tickets. So how does that help? If you're going to make a stand and say I'm not going, leave your seat empty and swallow your loss for the week. Put your club first. Don't put the £100 first.
Yeah, and towards the end of Wenger's reign, I think that's probably what actually made them pull the plug on him, the empty stadiums at the end of the day, because we were upset for like 2-3 years towards the end of Wenger's reign, but it was only when they started to see, the empty Emirates, and then the commentators started talking about it, that's actually when the board actually thought, you know what, we have to make the change.
Yeah, I suggested on Twitter to, I was having just a very short conversation with Lee Judges earlier. It wasn't really a conversation, just a couple of messages back and forth. But he said about the having to just really he was getting very frustrated and just said about protests and stuff and about the white hankies. And I just said, well, tomorrow's match is absolutely perfect because we've got no opposition fans there. So it's only our fan voices that are going to be heard. So it'd be absolutely perfect at that particular point to do like the protest, to wave these white hankies and to actually start chanting against the board.
Yeah.
Not don't do all the chants against Emery. That's pointless.
It's pointless. It's pointless.
It's absolutely pointless. It's not his fault anymore. He's drowning, and he's going to be, he's desperate for some help. I mean, you look at him; he's a broken man, and
he is.
He's just out of his depth.
We're doing the same to him as we did to Wenger. We're just hanging him out there to just hang himself. It's horrible. It's horrible. Especially when we all see ourselves as a classy club. And you can say the fans might not be acting too classy, but that's going off the back of the board not acting particularly classy. You can't expect the fans to keep swallowing it while what's going on, at boardroom level. It's not on at all.
No, I feel sorry for the guy now. I really do.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, just a quick question from me for the panel. Do we feel that it's perhaps AFTV's responsibility as a platform that's representing many Arsenal fans to kind of put out a video saying, taking leadership and saying this is what we're going to do. We're going to walk out tomorrow against Frankfurt in the 20th minute. And whether you're an international fan, whether you're a local fan or tourist, whatever the case may be, a lot of people watch Arsenal Fan TV, and I'm sure that it would be able to get that message across to a lot of people, and then perhaps just empty out the stadium. Because tomorrow there aren't any opposition fans. So all over the world, I mean, for me in South Africa, watching it on TV, I'd be up to notice it as well, right? So it's not just a thing for the board; it's a thing globally. This is the message that we're sending.
It'd be perfect, and let's not forget this is a Europa League match, and it's going to get a massive TV audience all around the world.
Yeah.
So something has got to be done. It's an absolutely perfect opportunity with no opposition fans to drown out our voices because there's going to be hardly any Arsenal fans there either, and the fact that it's going to be a half-empty stadium, if that, I think Tony Turner. We'd be lucky to have 20,000 fans there tomorrow. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So it'd be absolutely perfect with a half-empty stadium, everyone joining in the same message. And I think it'd be perfect. I don't know actually whether anyone at AFTV because I know it's a a group of people that have come together to do this weekend.
It would have to be Robbie.
I don't know whether anyone's involved from AFTV.
It would have to be Robbie leading it, right? Because obviously it's his channel, it's his platform, right? And if Robbie says something, he's pretty level-headed. So I think a lot of fans would respect what he says in terms of representing what the other fans want and follow through with it. Whereas if someone like, for us, example, say it, it's not going to get across the whole world.
Well, I was just thinking something similar to Irfan a minute ago when you guys were talking about the We Care Do You stuff. And I think they've been a little bit snobbish towards AFTV. I'm not a big fan of AFTV, but I think they've missed a massive trick not involving them, because whether you like it or not, they do represent a large mass of the fan base. Not one I want to be associated with, but they do represent them. You've got to let them have the voice as well. And I think the same as Irfan. I think they should have gone to them and said, you guys have got the platform online to put a message out there, to tell fans to come together. Whether you like them or not, we can all agree on that we all want the same common goal. I think there's a massive trick there.
100%. I think the trouble is they've been a victim of their own success in the fact that I think they've been tarred with the same brush, all of them. And not all of I don't watch AFTV. It's just something I haven't done. I've not got nothing against them. And for some reason, they blocked me on all of their AFTV media. I don't know why, but there you go. But I've actually got nothing against them as such, because I don't. But the thing, stand a man in the comments, I wouldn't get behind anything spearheaded by that mob. I wouldn't react to anything by them out of spite because I'm not a fan. That's the problem. They've done that to themselves in lots of ways, haven't they?
I think the thing with AFTV is...
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, mate. I think for AFTV is they've got the right vessel and they've got the right following, but it's how they use it. And obviously, like you said, they've been tarnished with that negative brush. And because they've already got that now, the media, everybody it kind of ignores them, doesn't want anything to do with them. Whereas if they turned it on its head and made it a positive thing, so look, the fans are coming together, we're not going to be abusive, because they're just seen as an angry mob. But I think if they were to use it in a positive way, like I say, they've got the numbers, and they've probably got the biggest numbers out of all the Arsenal following, to actually make a positive stance and just say, look, guys, we've got a European League game on Thursday. We're going to walk out on the 49th minute, obviously 49, but some minute, and just walk out and say, right, this is what we're going to do. Don't be abusive. Just like when I think Liverpool did it a few years ago when their season tickets were, I think they were looking to increase the prices, and Liverpool did a walkout, and that had an effect. The board actually after that frozen the ticket prices. So I think it could be used in a positive way.
I think that they could do with a big rebrand, really, because the problem is with that with them as well. It's not just tarnished themselves; they've tarnished all of us. And I was listening to which one it was. I listened to that many podcasts, but there's one this morning, and just one comment really got my goat. It said Arsenal fans are well known for being was it moany? Their word that they used,
self-entitled,
whiny. Whiny or something like that, and he really pissed me off because we're probably one of the most
patient.
That's it. Yes, thank you. Patient fan groups there are.
It's true. This is the thing: people only look at the end of what happened with Wenger, but that was 6 years of that where we just sat and took it for at least 4 or 5 years before it got to a point where people went, I just can't handle this anymore.
Do you know what? It's not. Sorry to cut in. It's not even Wenger that was the cause of all this. It's being told before we left the Highbury that we're moving into the Emirates because we're going to be competing with the best. We're going to get the best players. We've got much more money, and we were lied to from what was that? 2002 maybe.
2006,
about 4 years before we moved into the Emirates. That's the cause of it. And Wenger, like it or not, what anyone thinks of him, like it or not, Wenger was a victim of that as well, because all of our anger, it went onto him. And I swear, I don't care what anyone says, we'll probably find out, hopefully we'll find out when this book comes out, that he shielded and took a lot of the blame on behalf of the club.
Yeah,
and
because he loved the club. Because he loved the club.
Exactly.
People can say he stayed for money, but I've been thinking a bit reminiscent recently about Wenger and how we treated him, and it has made me think and look back at it and think, did he deserve as much abuse as we sort of gave him? It's a tricky one to weigh up. One of my mates said to me, what do you think it would have got to the state it would have done if they would have backed Wenger from the minute they came in? If they would have said, look, Arsene, every window you're going to get 100 million. I don't think it had ever have got to this point.
No,
because they didn't back him and they just left him out there to dry. Gazidis the same. He just hung him out there. Let Arsene keep taking it, because he will keep taking it, because he loves the club. And that's what they do to the fans as well.
Yeah.
They know we love the club. They know we won't turn our backs, and they abuse it. They shouldn't.
And the thing is with that, do you remember he had to keep selling our top stars just to make money to try and improve the squad? So it'd be the likes of Fabregas's, the Ashley Coles, the Van Persie.
He lied to us. He had to. I know he used to do that, but he used to lie to us about Van Persie, about Fabregas, and he didn't have to do that. So I agree with you, Sai, and I agree with you, Nytram. Like, he loves the club, but at some point you got to respect yourself and come out to the fans. If you really love us, tell us what was happening. We wouldn't be as angry as we were at Wenger if he told the truth, saying, I'm protecting the board and this and that, right?
Exactly. Well, that's what I said earlier. Sorry, that's what I said earlier. Do you honestly think that he would have not wanted to spend the money that he received for? Do you think it would have got to the stage where Van Persie would have wanted to leave if he could have kept the squad refreshed and with new players? It wouldn't have got to that stage at all. Not one of those players would have wanted to leave Arsenal if we were moving in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely.
Off what Irfan just said there as well. I think the other side to that, which is it's a little bit more complicated, which is Arsene loved the club, and I think he knew what was coming when he left, which was that it might end up a bit of a royal mess. So could he really come out and say something, bad-mouthing the board, letting the fans know that it was them? Because then they'd have just got rid of him.
Exactly.
It's not that cut and dry for me. I don't think.
He can't.
He was trying to juggle both. He was trying to sort of keep us sort of happy and keep the board happy. It doesn't work, but I think now he was actually doing us quite a good service. Although the football went out the window, that's a separate issue. But trying to take care of the club, I think he was actually trying to do that.
Yeah, he did care. He did. Because the thing is, as well, he had offers from Real Madrid, he had offers from France. So he could have just turned around and said, you know what, enough is enough. But like you've said there, SiCo, he was trying to protect himself and Arsenal and the board. So he was kind of in the middle. And also, he has to protect the players. Do you know what I mean? If he turns around and says, oh, yeah, he's leaving, the players will get the backlash, then Arsenal will get the backlash, then the board will get the backlash. But obviously, if he just keeps it passive, then you don't really know what's going on behind closed doors, to be fair.
No, that was one of his biggest problems with Arsene, was he had everybody's back, and who actually had his? The fans turned on him, the players weren't backing him, the board weren't backing him. I feel sorry for the guy. I feel absolutely sorry for him.
And I did. I mean, I still do. And you see him, when he left, I can't remember, there was a comment where that he basically had his heart broken. He left his heart in the club or something like that. Words to that effect. And I could see it. He was a broken man when he walked out of that club. And
he was.
I felt really, really sorry for him. And that is just spot on that what you just said there about no one having his back. Gazidis, all of them were quite happy for him to take all of the flack. And Tony Turner said, Wenger said he couldn't tell the truth a couple of times, to us, the fans. He said he couldn't tell us the truth. And I just really hope that in this book that we get to learn some of the truths. But I still don't think we will. I still think he'll protect the club.
He will. He'll protect the club's name. He will.
Yeah, he's a class guy.
He's too much of a gentleman. I mean,
look at what he's done since he left. What did he say? Will you be at the Emirates? No, because I'll respect the next man that comes in.
Yeah. It hurt him too much, I think, as well.
Yeah, I honestly think so. And he didn't bring Fabregas back to the club after he reluctantly sold him, because Fabregas broke his heart as well. He saw him like a son. He treated him like a son, and he felt like he had his heart broken. It's just... Yeah, he's just a class guy, isn't he? He's class.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I would absolutely love to see him back at the stadium. And I'd love us, to be perfectly honest, I'd love us to get a statue of him outside the ground.
Yeah, he deserves one, definitely.
I really think there should be a
Or even a stand
campaign.
named after
Yeah,
him.
name a stand after him. A statue's not enough, in my opinion.
There should
No,
be a campaign, and I've been thinking about it for ages to see if I could get up, start a campaign to get something for him like that at the Emirates.
I think I think a stand will be just right for him.
Change it to the Wenger.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, exactly. Now, Tony, you've obviously the whole premise of this show as well is that the most interactive and sort of entertaining person sending the most questions in on the night is welcome to join the show at the last part of the show. If you'd like to come on, please can you put a comment on, and I'll send you the link, and you'll be more than welcome to join us and give us your opinions, mate, on the show.
Can I just add one more thing, guys? Going on the Arsenal fan TV thing, going back to that a minute.
I also had.
I think the problem they had is that it took off because of sensationalism. It wasn't because of fans with knowledge talking after games. It was because of streaming and shouting and other fan bases. I don't know many Arsenal fans that watch it. It tends to be Man United mates, City mates that go, Arsenal have got beat. Can't wait to get in and watch this. And like you said, Andrew, I think what Robbie should have done at a point was gone, right, we've hit a certain level. Now we make this a serious channel. And I think the greed got the better of him, and he went, I'll just keep sticking with the making the money and it being sensationalist. And he shouldn't have done. I think any proper fans, I don't want to say proper fans because that's rude. We're all fans, but your Lee Judges, your Grahams, your people like that Curtis, guys like that just talk sense about the club. They're trying to turn that platform into a proper one that's not just shouting and ranting.
Yeah, they've missed the trick.
I think what happened was they followed the likes and they followed this is entertaining, and look at this one shouting, like you say, SiCo. It just became, this guy's having a meltdown. Let's watch Arsenal fan TV now to see who's having a meltdown. I'll get messages in my WhatsApp groups from my mates, and they're like, I won't watch Arsenal fan TV tonight because Arsenal lost. It's going to be well entertaining.
I'm working with a Leicester fan at the moment, and he watches it as well. He said he loves watching it. After we've lost the game or whatever, they'll just flick on there and just see us ranting. Yeah. He says, and that's the problem, and that's what pissed me off when I'm listening to it. It was a BBC or something like that. It might have been the Football Daily or something where that really pissed me off. And they said Arsenal fans are just like whinging or whatever. Because, like I said, we are extremely patient as a fan base and give people more time than they deserve a lot of the time. But yeah, that just annoyed me. Well, let's move on from that particular situation and go back to the managerial situation. Because like I said, it's moved on from Emery needing to go, blah, blah, blah. But I'm in the middle of recording my sort of regular podcast at the moment. And I just wanted to say as well, people have been saying quite a lot about what is Emery's style of play? What's his style? And I think it's quite obvious. He gave us the clue right at the beginning when he joined when he said about we're going to be a chameleon team. And obviously that relates to the fact that everywhere a chameleon goes to meet the background. And that's exactly what Emery does with the team. Yep. He sets us up so that we change every week. Because he doesn't want the opposition managers to be able to guess what lineup and what formation we're going to play from one week to the next. So it's pointless scouting us from one week to another. And B, he only sets up to counteract the opposition's strengths. So it doesn't work our strengths, but he also doesn't look at the opposition's weaknesses. And that's the big problem right there. He sets up to stop the opposition playing, and that's it. So that is his style. We will never see anything different and that's the reason why he changes the lineup and changes the formation on a weekly basis. And you can actually go back and check with previous clubs that he's worked for, and it's always the same thing. And I've said this a couple of times, and apologies for repeating myself on the podcast, but it's what the situation is with him is that you can actually get the truth from the fans. And I'm not going to go back to the AFTV thing here, but when you actually want to find out about players and managers, just check the fan groups. and they will tell you the truth, not the media in that country or people that he's worked with on a professional level, because they will just back him up. But if you listen to the fans' voices, they will tell you the truth, and it's always been the same with Emery. And I responded to a tweet today saying, how long was it into his reign that he realised he was the wrong man for Arsenal? And I honestly put as a response that it was a week, because it took me a week to properly just check into this guy. Because I didn't know anything about him, I'll be honest, when we appointed him. I heard his name, but I didn't know much about him. So when I actually looked into his background, I looked into what the fans were saying about him, and it was a common thread all the way through. And that worried me right from the start. And not one thing that I found out in that early stage has not turned out to be fact.
Andrew, did you ever see the tweet from that guy who tweeted about him before he joined? And it was a long thread about this is what you'll get from Unai Emery. I have never seen anything more on the head than that thread. Exactly what we've got. Exactly what we've got. Genuinely
not sort of trying to think, I could have written that myself. I wish I had, because David Cartledge, I think it was, wasn't it? I swear on my life, I could have written pretty much the same thing, and it's all. And that tells you everything you need to know about the guy. So
I think the worrying thing, gents, is going back to setting up a team. You look at most teams, it's not even because at first when I noticed, I was like, why is he setting up not to get beaten? It's like, why is he setting up to counteract a team? But if you look at a team, say you look at City, you look at Liverpool, you look at Chelsea, you look at teams like Wolves and Liverpool, they have a set formation and they put their best players in that formation, and then they have a plan B. Now, one of the things we used to say about Wenger was he has no plan B. He was stubborn and persistent with the same formation. He wouldn't adapt. Whereas Emery's the complete opposite. He's adapting too much. He's like, right, we're playing Liverpool this week. Let's count. He played a diamond at Liverpool. One of the teams in the league that have the best left and right back, the best Salah and Mane, and he played a diamond. So he literally played into their hands.
I know. Well, This is what the issue I was coming on to, because they took quite a while to make the Emery appointment, and they chose this guy. And I found out about that guy, about Emery, after a week of doing my own investigative work, and so did that David Cartledge, obviously. So this leads me on to my problem. I've got no confidence whatsoever that team of people, and I know that Gazidis is out of the question now, but Raul was there, and apparently Raul really pushed for Unai Emery. What does that say about this next guy who we're going to have to get in?
Well, I've just said this today, is I think we're going to find out massively about this board of who they appoint next. I think we're really going to find out whether they actually care or not.
I don't trust them at all now.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, Andrew. If they go and get us an absolute duffer that we all can see pretty much from the start, then we all need to come together on that front and do something about it. Because there's no good hounding another manager out. We can't keep going like that.
No, it's not the manager's fault, is it?
No.
Do you know what? People say that we need to go out and splash out, I don't know, however much it's going to take to go and get someone like Upamecano, or you name it, one of these top class centre backs. And I would rather, and I totally agree with what you just said, Stan. Raul needs to look under the sofa for as much change as he can, and then give it all to Brendan Rodgers. I'd rather go out and spend however much it took to prize Brendan Rodgers or someone like that out of their club and just be decisive, like those lot down the road did. Unfortunately, they just. Mourinho has got it in his contract, by all accounts. You've probably all heard this as well, that he's got to be at all times on 88 grand a week more than the highest paid player at Spurs. And I don't doubt that for 1 second. And he's already on about 15 million a year or something like that. So rather than spend at this stage of our evolution, I'd rather spend a big portion of that money we were going to have to spend out on a centre back and go and get someone like Brendan Rodgers.
Well, Andrew, are we not learning that lesson now? That it doesn't matter how good a players you've got. If you've got the wrong guy in charge, you can have 4 Van Dijks in your defence. You're still going to be crap.
True.
We're learning that right now. We're learning that right now.
100%. And our guys, our squad, I will still maintain that our squad is strong. but it's getting weaker by the day because of their mentality and the way they're being coached. They're not being coached properly. 100%.
I think the one example of that is you look at Nicolas Pepe. We don't play to his strengths. Now people are saying, "Oh, he's rubbish. He's this, he's that." If you actually watch Nicolas Pepe, he wants the ball in front of him. That's how he plays. We're playing the ball to his feet. Again, you look at Aubameyang. Look at, like I said, they're 20 goal plus strikers. When was the last time Aubameyang scored a goal? Do you know what I mean? It's like
he's got 1 in 8. He's got 1 in 8 now.
Yeah, there you go. It says it all. The way he's set up the team. There's no transition in the midfield.
Well, that's what I mean. This guy that we get in now is far more important than any players that we're going to go after in the January window or next summer, because it's a long-term benefit of the squad and the way that we play football. And we've got an awful lot of players that the Vultures are circling straight away. We've got Martinelli, who I think is the most valuable player in the squad because his ceiling is so high. And along with Guendouzi and a few others that we can name, they are the jewels in our crown, and we've got to look after them so strongly. And someone said on a podcast I did a couple of weeks ago, well, Martinelli, we'll be looking to sell him, or we'll be able to get 80 million for him in a couple of years' time from Real Madrid or Barca. And I said, no, I don't. That's the whole problem. I want to keep the guy. I want him to take us to the next level with him, because I'll tell you what, in a couple of years' time, he could be one of the best players in the world at his age group. Like Mbappe is only 20 or 21, and he's got the same sort of potential, I think, under the right coach. If he gets the right guidance and the right coaching. So this coach is so bloody important to the club, much more important than going to buy Upamecano or some other.
And the thing is as well, sorry to interrupt, Andrew, if you look at, speaking on coaching, look at Leicester City under Claude Puel and look at Leicester City under Brendan Rodgers. Exactly.
And no one could tell me, when we played Leicester, everyone was going on about what Arsenal players would get into the Leicester squad now. And I'll turn that on its head and say, well, what do you think that none of this Arsenal squad now will get into the Leicester squad when you look back at last Christmas time and when they were under Claude Puel? They were dog shit, that team. But they've got the same bunch of players. So it annoys me when people say our players aren't good enough to get into the top four, or they don't want us to qualify for the Champions League because we're shit. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't agree, because Spurs got to the final last year. And I'm not saying under a great coach, there's no way that our players couldn't do a tune on the pitch that could take us the same length as someone like Spurs. So I don't accept any of that argument. So that's why I think that this it's so important to get the right guy. And I agree with, if Brendan Rodgers is the right person, I'm not saying that he is, but I probably think that he could be quite easily, then I'd rather spend the money that we've got and go and get someone like that rather than just worrying about what players are going to bring in, because that can be done further down the line.
Well, this is it, Andrew. I keep using Sheffield United as a prime example.
Oh, I do.
I keep saying to people, tell me one player in their first 11 that would get in ours. There isn't.
Well, tell me one player in their first 11. The one important
position. Yeah, they've got one. They've got one person in an important position that's better than ours, and that's coach.
100%. I've been banging his drum for weeks, and after the Europa League final, I phoned in on the Chronicles of a Gooner show, and I said, and I put it out as a podcast about a few weeks ago. I put it out. I talked about Chris Wilder in that show. I've loved that guy, and
his record is exemplary. It's exemplary.
My God. We need a quality coach, and people say, "Well, he's too big for him, too big a job for him." That's a bullshit. If players start moaning, saying, "Who are you? Who are you? What credentials have you got, mate?" I'll get those players out of the club rather than the manager.
So I totally agree with you. Yeah. At the end of the day, how does anybody get a promotion at a company? You don't get it through already proving yourself at that level. They give you the promotion so you can prove yourself at that level.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. But it's like, you've just mentioned Tony there, and he said something to me. He's a good friend of mine on Twitter. And he mentioned something to me the other day about players, the players getting away with it a little bit. And I said, no, I think they are getting a decent amount of flack from the fans, but you've got to give them some leeway, because name me another side that is changing the formation every week, the lineup every week. And, I had the United mate round at weekend, watching their game against Sheffield United. And I said, look at the Sheffield United players. They don't look up. That's not a criticism. That's a compliment, because they don't need to, because they know the system.
Exactly.
Our guys, that's why they turn round and they're like a canal barge turning, and they're playing passes here, there, and everywhere, because there's no identity to the play. They can't just go, if I feed this between the wing back and the centre back, there'll be, X player bombing onto it. They can't guarantee that. So it's just why there's no style to our play at all.
100% agree. And I would much rather have a team of players like that than the ones that we've got. If they're going to be prima donnas and say, I ain't playing for this coach, well, just fuck off then, mate, because I don't want you at the club.
True. Don't play for the coach, play for the badge. It's as simple as that.
Do you know what? I mean, it's still obviously a big, you have to be brave appointment, but I genuinely think that, and I don't know where 100% has come from. Like I said, I've only watched them a handful of times, but I think that our players would do that for Freddie as well. And do you know what? Also, and quite a few people have made the point about Vieira as well, and he's not having the best of seasons this year. He got Nice to finish 7th last season, I believe. I think they're struggling around 14th, 15th last time I looked. But I would absolutely love Vieira to be the guy, but we won't know, because certain managers fit certain clubs, and maybe it's not the right fit there. Maybe he will fit in here, but what I want is a guy to have a plan, a firm way of playing football, organisation, and I want that guy to have the buy-in of all the players on the pitch. And I do think that someone like, if we're not going to change any of our players, and we've got to work with what we've got, I still can't get my head past the fact that we could have that person right under our noses in Freddie Ljungberg, and with his contact book of people that he's been with in the past and played with and managed with Arsene Wenger, he's only a phone call away to get all the help and guidance he could possibly want. If he could quite easily get Vieira in to work alongside him. He could quite easily get any of the Invincibles players, Sol Campbell, for example. Do you not think he would sort out our defence? Do you look at the job he did at Macclesfield last year? Does that not matter? Because it's Macclesfield. Are we such snobs that we can't recognise the work that some people do at clubs like Macclesfield, or like with Chris Wilder, what he did at Halifax and Northampton and Oxford? Are we that snobbish?
I just wanted to mention something to the panel. Nuno Santo was just asked if he's in line to be the next Arsenal manager, and his response was, "I'm not going to talk about that." So, not too sure what's going on. But
that's very similar to what I've just said about Wenger. He doesn't want to disrespect us, and he can't disrespect the club. It's like when people have said it when the board have spoken and they've said they've backed the manager. Well, what else do you want them to do?
I mean, he could have said no bluntly, but yeah, he's kind of left it on edge, which is interesting for me.
Fam, we all like being flirted with, don't we? At the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Do you imagine though? Being the or any manager in a club like Arsenal's being touted and being after, you must feel like the bollocks. You must seriously feel like the bollocks walking around.
Andrew, it's going back to the Brendan Rodgers thing. I've worked with him, and he is a very egotistical man. He loves himself. Yeah, he had a portrait in his kitchen that was about 4 foot by 6 foot of himself. And I said, if you asked him who's the best manager in the world, he'll tell you himself. And somebody said to me, there's no way he'd leave Leicester. But I said to them, if you actually knew the bloke or a little bit, I'm not saying I'm his best mate, but I had a fair few chats with him about his future when he was at Celtic. And I got the feeling then at the time he was talking in a way that I've pretty much done all I can do here. And I raised it with Leicester, is that Leicester have won the Premier League. They've played in the Champions League. So what can he actually do now is retain the Premier League or win it again or win the Champions League. That's not very realistic with Leicester, not being disrespectful. But at Arsenal, he would look at that and go, would I want to bring Arsenal a first league title in 15 years? Would I want to get them back in the Champions League and compete for it? That would give him a throb on big time, I'm telling you.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said that. I tweeted that out not too long ago. I said the only way we're going to get him out of there is not with all the money in the world. It's with his ego and the fact that he could think to himself, I could be the one to bring the good times back to Arsenal after all these years. I could be the one to succeed a great manager like Arsene Wenger. And that's the way I said it. I said that's the only thing is to play on his ego. And by the way, next time you're going to do a name drop like that, it's so deafening. Can you just give us a notice and you can put yourself on mute? You'll have to tell me the story offline about how he came to work with him. But I mean, I'd love this. What Tony was saying again. Saying I think Vieira and Freddie until the end of the season. I mean, to be perfectly honest, that'd be very exciting. And I would rather have matches every week to watch like that. The 5-5 with Liverpool.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, I just miss exciting football like that. And I after that game, I tweeted out saying that was amazing, and I was like eulogizing about that match, and people were replying saying, "You really like that? We let in 5 goals, all of these mistakes, all these defensive mistakes. Martinez was rubbish."
Andrew,
I'll tell you what, I'd have that every week.
Yeah, Andrew, as well. Do you not remember a few years ago, no matter if we win, lose or draw, people would watch Arsenal to be entertained. We were the most entertaining team in the league for so many years. The way when we had Fabregas, and I don't want to say his name, but Nasri, the likes of that, when we had those teams, you'd watch Arsenal just to be entertained. You'd guarantee you watch an Arsenal game, whether we win, lose or draw, you're always going to be entertained. And that's one thing you could guarantee with an Arsenal game.
I agree with you, Nytram, as well, because the amount of people that used to say to me, especially being in Manchester, "Oh, I love watching Arsenal. You're like my second team." I've not heard anyone say that to me for 10 years.
No.
And everyone used to say that to me. Everybody used to say that to me. Even United fans, when it was always us rivaling, they'd at least say, you're a good side, you lot.
You're a good team to watch, yeah.
We had so much great rivalry with Man United down the years, and I think there's a strong, although we all give up this, a lot of it is pretense. Let's face it, about hating each other because of the massive rivalry. But I think when you sort of I don't know how old you are, LeAfrican Gooner. You're a lot younger than probably the rest of us. But when you have a certain vintage, shall we say, there's a lot of mutual respect between Man United and Arsenal, and that goes for the fans as well. And I think that that's just gone missing, and what we'd love, and that's gone probably maybe for good, but I think football goes in cycles, doesn't it? And
but do you not think it's the digital age, Andrew? Because that was it years ago. You sort of had to have banter with rival fans because it was face to face. So if you went mugging them off the way people do online now, you'd have got your teeth pushed down your throat.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's all very faceless, so fans can say pretty much whatever they feel like to each other and get away with it.
Very true, yeah, very, very true. So
I think that's why you find a lot of the old schoolers a lot more respectful, but just because it's not that you know more, it's just that you know a different time. Yeah, you know a time when you had to be a bit more respectful and take people's opinions on board.
Yeah,
and I think what sums up the old Arsenal-Man United rivalry was Wenger's last game at Old Trafford, when obviously he shook Ferguson's hand and he handed in the presentation, etc. That just summed it all up. I mean, for years everyone thought they hated each other, but at the end of the day, it's just two top coaches at the prime of their career, and they just respect. It's just respect at the end of the day, and that's what it was.
Yeah, I listened to this podcast, and I can't remember which one it was again, but this one I definitely want everyone to listen to, and I'll put it in the description when I find it. It was about it's basically football's greatest rivalries, and it was all about the United and Arsenal rivalries, which lasted well over a decade, and it was absolutely brilliant because it was accounted by not players and managers that you've heard that an awful lot down the years, but it was all about the fans and their recollections of it. And I thought it was fantastic. It was a brilliant show, and it brought back so many good memories. And from the fans' perspective, made it all the more interesting. So I'll find out what that was, and I'll put that on the description. You should listen to that. It was excellent, and it makes it just makes you remember why you should always still love this club, no matter what we're going through at the moment. It's still Arsenal. And we should all still be proud for supporting this club, and that's what I was on about the respect between Arsenal and United, and it really comes out from the fans as well on that podcast. So yeah, I'll find out which one it was that I listened to. Let's go through some of these comments because we're going to have to start coming to an end fairly soon, I'm afraid, even though I could go on for absolutely ages with you guys. The problem is we're not going to be able to spend the money to compensate Emery and compensate Leicester for Rodgers. That's from Tony Turner again. And I'll go back to what I said.
Tell Tony he's talking bollocks.
Well, I'll go back to what I said. And if we're going to have to make signings, this is the most important one rather than players at the moment, in my opinion.
It's like anything. Clubs budget for this sort of thing. It's not if you get rid of the manager that comes out of transfer budgets. It don't work like that.
No,
they're prepared for these sort of things because even your most simple of fans can see that they're businessmen and they're a lot better businessmen than us lot because they're running a £1 billion football club. None of us are. They know the ramifications if we don't get Champions League. They're not gonna lose out on 150 million for the sake of getting rid of Unai for 4. They're not. I don't buy that at all.
Well, put it this way, right? To actually pay off Unai and his team, and to buy out Rodgers and his team from their contracts, I bet you it would all in one would come to less than Mustafi.
Yeah.
But, well, I said it about Chelsea the other day when somebody was saying about Arsenal being a classy club. And I said, yeah, but being classy shouldn't come at the cost of success.
No,
I don't like the way Chelsea do things. I mean, do any of you guys know how much they've spent on sacking managers?
Oh, I'd love to know.
Well, I'll tell you if you want to know. It's £100 million. It's 100 million.
Gosh.
I could well believe it. I bet Watford aren't far off.
But they've gotten out by winning Europa League, FA Cup, Premier League. So I mean, it's not like they spent it for no reason, right? But I just see your point.
The means justify the ends sometimes. I don't like the way they operate, but they're successful, so you can't disagree with it.
Yeah. My thing is, I keep hearing this, they can't afford to sack Emery, They have to pay Emery that money anyway, so that money's gone. So it's not a case of paying the money to sack Emery, it's the case of finding the money to get this new manager and his team. Because Emery and his coaches, whether he lasts a year, 6 months, 2 days, they're going to have to pay him anyway. Do you know what I mean? They've have reserves for that. They've already put that in place. So they're willing to pay out his contract. So if you pay him his money now or you pay it at the end of his contract, you're still going to have to pay it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's as much as you don't like, people don't like Kroenke. I don't like him, but the guy's thrown $5 billion at the Rams to make them successful. Don't tell me he hasn't got $4 million to throw at a £1 billion at one of his assets. It's nonsense.
Exactly.
It's nonsense. It makes no sense.
It's rubbish. They're honestly rubbish. I just think that we are the slowest club to act on anything. That's the problem.
Mm.
And I've absolutely no doubt. If you'd be absolutely stupid to think we haven't been doing anything behind the scenes. Right, but it's just a frustrating way that we take ages and ages and ages to do anything. It's like
look at Spurs.
Someone gave the example of the Arshavin transfer, and he was stuck in a hotel in Heathrow for a month.
Yeah,
enough. And it was same with Kieran Tierney, and that took weeks and weeks and weeks, and it was just the worst kept secret in the world that we were going to buy him, obviously. And this is the problem. We just move at a snail's pace. And I thought that getting this new structure in would improve that. And obviously not, unfortunately. It will get done. I can't stand watching this football anymore, to be perfectly honest. That's
the problem with the board, though, is they're not proactive, they're reactionary, and that just sets you up for a fall every time.
I thought that changed, though, because everyone goes on and on and on as well about saying Arsenal aren't that kind of club. Arsenal don't do this. Arsenal don't do that. But we're a new Arsenal from summer 2018.
Apparently, yeah.
And it was supposed to have changed, and it's very confusing.
And the thing is, for me, is right. Going back to what we said earlier about if they sack Emery, it's going to destabilise the club because we've got 3 games every week. It's just a coach and his team. Whereas before, when it was Wenger, he had more. Everything. He had hands in every pie. Yeah, but now you've just got Unai and 10 guys. The club's still going to go on. You've got a chairman. You've got a board of directors. Do you know what I mean? It's not like if you get rid of Emery, the whole club collapses. You get rid of Emery, you put Ljungberg in charge until you find the man that you want.
Exactly. Well, look at when we got rid of Wenger. It seemed quite settled after a month when we got Unai in. Yeah. Everything seemed like a brand new club. It's just that he wasn't the right guy. But the club didn't fall apart, did it?
No, exactly.
Something I'm keen to say. Well, people also mention over and over again about how hard it must be for a manager to come in and be the one that came in after Wenger, succeeding Wenger, because Wenger had been there for 22 years. I just look at it in a common sense way and think, well, why? Why is it different? Because he's been there 22 years. For a new coach coming in, he's just going in there. He's going to meet the people that work around the place. He's going to go and meet the players and start training the players. So what difference does it make in a common sense world?
It's about setting yourself realistic goals. A manager can't come in after Wenger and go straight away, right, what are you going to do? I'm going to emulate the guy who was there for 22 years. All you've got to look at is go, I just need to get this lot well drilled, defending, stop leaking goals, and get back in the Champions League. That's all they should be looking at.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if anything, it should be easier because you've had that for 22 years and you're coming as a manager. It's an opportunity for you to put your stamp on the club and say, right, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to carry on the way everything has happened under Wenger. So you can come in now and be like, right, it's my turn to put my stamp on this club and maybe make a few changes.
I think
that's the one easy
way of doing it.
The one easy thing. Sorry,
opportunity. Andy. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I think it's an ideal opportunity for a manager.
Well, I was just going to say the same thing. It's not a hard act to follow Unai now, is it?
No.
You've got a free swing of the bat now.
No,
it's easy. And the thing is as well, we've identified the fans. We know all the problems. We know where we need to fix. So obviously, if you're a manager and you've been managing a team, it's going to be easier for them than it is for us. We know what the problems are. So this new manager that's going to come in, his job's not going to be that hard.
No.
For me, it's just changing the culture of the club and changing the mentality of the players, really. Because I think something that we've seen with perhaps Xhaka, Bellerin, and some other Wenger players is the fragile mentality of, if a goal goes in or if things don't go our way, then we just kind of drop our tools. So in terms of that 22-year tenure, for me, that's the only thing that a new manager would have to deal with, is just changing that mentality. But yeah, Emery's only been here, 2 seasons?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I'm going to start very slowly. Start wrapping up. I want to go round you all in order, just to get you quick fire. Top 3 ideal candidates in order. 1, 2, 3. Only excluding Pep and Klopp. Okay, so any managers any other managers in the world are fair game. But if you give us your top 3 choices and a quick reason why you want that person, and I'll go clockwise. So if I start with you, LeAfrican Gooner.
So for me, it would be first Allegri. Secondly, it would be Simeone. And third for me would be Nagelsmann. And for me, it just comes down to the bottom line of having an experienced manager that will come in, change the culture, have a formation, have some tactics, won't be a yes man to the board or to the players, will be able to choose his own captain, and just has experience at the highest level. That is key for me.
Cool. Okay, fair play. You obviously would have loved the George Graham years.
Yeah.
Nytram Gooner, what's yours?
I'd start with Allegri, then I would have gone for Brendan Rodgers, and then Enrique. I just want a winner. I like the way Brendan Rodgers coaches, like what we said before. I think Enrique's style of play, and I think Allegri, just because I think we need someone that knows how to defend and set up a team defensively, and then again has that experience. I mean, people say, oh, he's only managing Juventus, but that's the only job he's had. Do you know what I mean? You can't say I've managed in 10 countries if you only had one job. How are you going to get that experience? So I'll go Allegri, Enrique, Rodgers.
Fantastic.
Enrique's taken, by the way, so that might have.
No, I know, but he said no Pep and no Klopp, but I would have taken
everyone's
him.
Fair game.
Yeah, that's anyone.
Okay.
Nagelsmann would be my number 1 choice. He's good defensively and attacking, and he's very good with youth players and playing in a system. So he's the one standout for me. And then my next 2 would be Allegri and Simeone for pretty similar reasons. That they're very well organised coaches, and make us solid at the back and then build from that. Scoring goals hasn't, up until recently, been a massive problem for us. It's been leaking at the back. So for me, that's what we should be looking at someone to address and then go on from there. So that'd be my three.
I'm just worried about Allegri because he can't speak English. And do you know what I think is a big problem? Not a problem, but I think would be really important for us as a group of fans is to have someone that we could really, really relate to in a really good way. I think it is. Although it shouldn't be, Andrew, I think it is an issue.
Do you need to relate to the manager for winning the Champions League and the Premier League?
No, you don't. No, but I think I really do like that having that thing. It's completely stupid. I know. Sorry.
I don't think it's stupid, mate. I just don't think it's that high a priority. But I don't think it's stupid by any means.
Don't get me.
I think with Emery,
wrong at all. Of course, it's not an issue if we start winning matches. And but I just love the fact that if we had someone that we could really, grow to love in a way. Yeah. And I'm not expecting someone to be with the club for 20 odd years again, ever. It's not going to happen again. I'm not stupid. It's going to be like a 2, 3, 4 year cycle. So we're not going to have the same kind of bond. But I just like to have a manager that we would think, oh, yeah, you're the fucking bollocks you are. To really relate to the guy, to actually understand and get a good feeling of his pre and post match press conferences, and we can have I don't know. So for some reason, I think that it's important that the guy is relatable and we can understand what he's saying, and it's not just a load of gobbledygook or listening for a translator. And it won't matter if we start winning cups and leagues and Champions Leagues. You're completely right. And I know it's a stupid thing stupid reason. And I'm not saying I'm against Allegri. It's just that sort of thing I think is very important to me.
Yeah. I mean, he has been learning English for quite a while now. He started learning, didn't he, before Emery turned up?
Yeah, he did.
Because maybe that's what he's been doing during his sabbatical. Maybe that's all he's been doing. He's just learning English, A-level English. You don't know, do you?
No, it's what's the guy?
Well, he needs to learn Geordie, Scouse, Cockney. Forget A-level English. He needs to get the dialects.
But I think that's another interesting thing, though, is in this country, there's a lot of regional dialects, which makes it a lot trickier. It's not the same in a lot of other countries. You go to different areas and it's so different. Where I live, you can go 5 miles down the road and not understand somebody. It's tricky.
That's it.
So say that again. So I didn't understand you.
All right, mate. Calm down, mate.
No, I love it when players, like obviously we've got Bellerin, when they've been here so long that they get the local accent. Like Molby at Liverpool. Do you remember Molby?
Another Liverpool one, Dietmar Hamann.
Yes,
absolute class. That Scouse German, he's genius.
Have you heard what's the other guy? Owen Hargreaves as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And the best one is Ali Adair. Have you heard
his English is Franglish or Pringlish.
It's really, I think it's hilarious. I think it's really strange. Yeah, I can't. It cracks me up every time I hear him doing co-coms. But my first choice, I think my dream situation, like I said to you, would be to have someone on a 18-month contract to bring through Freddie. That would be perfect. My ideal one would be Benitez, because I think he'd actually do something like that, and I think that's realistic. I don't think he'd even pack a suitcase if we offered him a job coming from China. I think he'd just be straight over here. And people have been talking about him as being the favourite for West Ham. I mean, he's too good for West Ham, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is.
I tell you what, they could be quite a good proposition if he went there.
I tell you what,
they've got money.
They would,
yeah, definitely,
100%. They'd finish above us if they got him, and I'm not even joking.
It's scary, and that's another thing, Jed. Sorry, just quickly. You look at Everton, you look at West Ham, you look at United. That's 3 clubs that, if they choose the right man and we don't, they could overtake us within the space of 6 months.
I think that's a potentially good manager as well, right?
I think that's an interesting point that you've just made there as well. It's like Everton; they've thrown a lot of money at it, and they haven't got the right man, and it's not working. That's why I never equate success to money.
No, exactly.
Never.
100%. And I would, you know, who I would like to go to Everton. It's Eddie Howe.
Arteta.
No, well, yeah, actually, that's a good, either him or Eddie Howe.
They can have Emery if they want.
But on
Eddie Howe,
he deserves a better job. He deserves.
I'd love to see how he got on. Yeah,
he's an Everton fan as well, so he would take it if he was offered it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know he was an Everton fan.
He's an Everton fan.
And he's an attacking manager too, right? So I wouldn't mind him at Arsenal, to be honest. A lot of people look down upon him, but I think with the squad he has and the funds he has at Bournemouth, I mean, he's done quite a good job. He turned Ryan Fraser into a superstar last season, so I wouldn't mind him having a go.
I've got a big problem with Eddie Howe in the fact that, and I've said this a few times, but as soon as they reach the 40-point mark, they go off a cliff every single season, and that's a mental issue. That is, and why can't he get the team to stop that? Why can't he get them at the same level for the whole season? They're going to have ups and downs like any team. But they literally go off a cliff. Well, that's his job to stop that, isn't it? That's what I'm
getting. But it's tricky. It's tricky if, you know, a group of people just mentally switch off. It's not easy to get them back on. I mean, look at our mess at the minute. That's what's happening for me. That's why Emery has had to have gone for me, because I can't see how he's going to get the players back round.
No, he can't.
But how long has he been at Bournemouth now? How long has he been at Bournemouth? No, it's
way longer than that. It's way longer than that. It's about 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years they've been in the Prem, I think, haven't they?
He left and came back, didn't he? Burnley and went back to Bournemouth. So he's been there a long.
It's been a long time, and he's not changed it in all of those seasons. And they're not the same players that he's had all the way through. So that worries me, because they play lovely football, and like I said, they're always around sort of 5th, 6th, 7th, and every single season they have the same conversation. Oh, could they possibly end up in the Europa League position? And they just they plummet after Christmas, and they've got relegation.
Look at their players. Look at their players. They don't have quality, right? So eventually they get found out and sink. Just like Arsenal, it's the same thing. Why we'd always challenge and then just dink at the end is because we didn't have the mentality, because we didn't have the quality of world-class players. I mean, what world-class players do we have in our squad right now, apart from perhaps Aubameyang? Is that nothing?
I wouldn't say we've got any world-class players at the minute.
We don't need any world-class players to play a good game of football. We've already gone through that about Sheffield United. Sheffield United haven't got world-class players, but they're 5th.
And it's coaching and mentality for me. It's coaching and mentality.
Another guy I'd love to get a bigger job is Sean Dyche, because look at the work he's done. That I'm not saying I want Sean Dyche at Arsenal. I'd love to see him somewhere else, though.
Yeah.
I think we all just heard Andrew say he wants Sean Dyche as manager, didn't we?
I've heard that as well, mate.
I rate the guy. Look at the job he's done. He got them on that season. They got relegated. They got straight back up again as well.
You're going to be trending now, Andrew. Sean Dyche.
Let's get it trending, people. Andrew says Dyche.
Do you know what? I'd love him to go to West. See what he could do at West Ham, for example. You know, they took on Sam Allardyce, didn't they? I would love to see what he could do at West Ham, because I would like to know whether he plays the style of football that he does to keep Burnley in the Premier League and get the most out of his players, because he gets a tune out of them and works to their strengths. And I'm wondering if he got the squad at West Ham, for example, what would he do with them? What style of football would he play to work to their strengths? Because they've got some quality players, haven't they?
Well, you've seen a good example of it this season with Norwich. They started the season trying to play how they've played all the time, which is just attacking football. And look how it worked out for them very badly. They had a bit of a honeymoon, and then it was just bang, crash, wallop, where you can't play like that against the good teams, because they will beat you 6-0 every week.
Yeah. That was it with Norwich. They came up and everyone worked them out within the first month. It was like, okay, this is how you're going to play. We know how to get you guys.
Well, I really respect that manager, though, because he's done a great job, and I really respect the fact that he's sticking to his principles. And if they go down, they're going to stick with him as well. And I really like that. And I'll tell you what, they're I've lost his name. The guy that does their recruitment at Norwich. I mean, he's another guy we should go after. I'll tell you what, they've got a very good scouting system, and the scout at the head scout at Watford as well. They do some very, very good stuff. They've picked up this 17-year-old kid from Brazil as well. That's in a similar sort of mould to Martinelli by all accounts.
But like you say, I think that's a really interesting point, Andrew. Is that how many managers have a style based on the team and not based on their own ideas? Irfan said it before. I can't think he said it about Newcastle or whoever it was. That they have to play a certain way just to survive.
Yeah.
You said it about Benitez, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Benitez,
yeah. And that's what I'm wondering about Sean Dyche. I think it's just because they are very, very good quality coaches and they can work out the strengths of their players and they play to those strengths. And that's what we don't do. And I'll tell you what, there's it was after the England game recently, and Chris Waddle said something. It went on for about 5 minutes, and it was really, really perfect as a description for Arsenal as well, because they were talking about whether to, the upcoming Euros and Declan Rice, etc., who to play the holding midfield role. And at the end, he had enough of all this talk, and he said, "Look, just stop talking about holding midfield role. If you haven't got them, don't use them. Don't try and find one."
Yeah.
He said, "Play to your strengths." And he said, "We don't need a holding midfield role to sit in front of the back four. If we're not good in that area," he said, "we never have been. So we've got amazing quality players in the midfield, creative players, and obviously up front. That's where our strength is. So play to those strengths." And he said,
"It's true though, isn't it? There's no good trying to be a carpenter if you've got a Hoover and a duster. Become a cleaner."
Exactly.
Well, this is the way,
exactly.
and I thought it just explained it perfectly, the way I feel about Arsenal as well. And I was so pissed off after the Liverpool game earlier this season, and the fact that of course, we're not going to be able to withstand Liverpool just sitting back and having the central defenders sitting on Leno's knee because we're sitting so deep. We should have just gone toe to toe with them, and yes, we probably would have lost, but you never know, do you?
And the thing is, we used
might
to
have
do that
had fun
before.
for an hour and a half, though.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point.
Do you not remember when we beat Chelsea at home and we wiped the floor? I mean, we did it to United as well. We wiped the floor of them within 20 minutes just because we started on the front foot, we used our strength, we attacked them, and the game was over within the first half an hour.
Well, that's the best form of defence, and the old cliche. But you know what? If we'd have gone there and actually hit them as by surprise 2 goals, because they wouldn't have been expecting it. They don't expect teams to go and actually go toe to toe with them. So if we'd have hit them with a couple of quick fire goals, then their heads drop and they start panicking. And that's the best way of defending, by putting their mentality down to the floor and their confidence. I'm not saying it would have happened, but you don't know, do you? We could trust.
But it was similar to when Liverpool played Norwich at the start of the season. Norwich just went toe to toe with them, and they missed a couple of chances. Pookie was through and he missed, and then Liverpool scored their chance, and then they battered them. But up till that point, they had him on the ropes, wobbling big time.
By the way, that could happen when Pepe hit the post this weekend. I mean, if that goes in, right, I think the game has changed.
I think that's confidence, though. I really think that was down to confidence.
Yeah, totally. We can't judge any of our squad at the moment. I don't blame any of the players at the moment. Yes, they could be doing better, but I think they are doing as best as they possibly can. I dread to think where we would be if they weren't trying, like against Villa and Spurs.
And Tottenham, Spurs. Yeah.
That was those 2 recoveries were down to the players. They weren't. That wasn't down to the manager. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, but Andrew, they haven't been playing like that in every game. They only play like that when they're in trouble. We should be playing like that from the start, so we don't have to do that. Right?
Exactly. But I don't think this is the problem. I don't think they can. Because they don't know what they're doing from 1 week to the next.
Yeah, there's no identity.
It's like you said, Si. I'm sure, because footballers, when they were in an academy, they do a certain level of education because the club do it. They actually have to get them through their qualifications, don't they? But they don't go on to higher education. So they do what they have to, and then they go and carry on their career as a footballer. They're not the most intelligent people in the entire world. I'm sorry, but there's no way that they can understand and have everything in their heads to have the intelligence sometimes to cope with all of these different types of information that the manager's giving them. And I'm sure they go onto the pitch and they forget what formation they're playing from 1 week to the next. during the match. And do you know what? Also, he does that's really, really bad. Is when he's on the side of the pitch, he's constantly micromanaging them every single second, and that must do their heads in.
That was funny the other week with Turney when he just went, "Shut up, fuck off, leave me alone.
Yeah,
just let me play my game. Stop piping up at me because I'm on that sideline. Leave me alone."
It said it all, didn't it?
It happened against Southampton. I think Lacazette was taking a throw in the second half, and he just completely Emery was shouting him. He told him to pass it backwards, and then Lacazette was telling, I think it was Tierney, to go down the line, and he just completely ignored the manager and was like, "Well, what are you talking about? I know what I'm doing."
Exactly. That's right. That just says it all. And they must do their absolute heads in. He's just going on and on and on and on at them all the time. And he's done. This is why I don't think we can actually say that Pepe is underperforming. Ceballos if his form fell off a cliff. No one can tell me that he's not a quality player. I mean, look what he did in the summer. I know what kind of player we bought. And he just dropped off a cliff because within I think it was 6 or 7 games at the time, he'd already played in 4 different positions. It's just an absolute joke. This is why I genuinely don't blame the players at the moment for what we're going through, because if they are pissed off, which they clearly are, I don't blame them, to be perfectly honest. No. So,
I said it the other day, Andrew, is that, look at the fans. We're all going, we don't want to turn up anymore. So that's where I have sympathy for the players, because I think that's the only way they can show they've had enough is that to just stop playing for him. I don't like it, but
I don't like it.
What else can they do as players, really?
Yeah,
I know.
That's true.
But we need longer. A sample size to actually quantify the quality of this squad, because I still think it's a strong squad. I really, really do. But I think we need a new manager and a settled style of play, a settled formation. Sometimes you do have to be picked on your performance, obviously. But sometimes you have to, especially in defence, you have to know that your position is going to be safe for 5 or 6 games. Because you need to have that settled back 4 more than anything, I think, or whichever formation you're going to play in, to actually build up that relationship with those players around you.
Yeah,
I think Unai could sort of save himself a little bit at the minute if he just went, right, I'm going to play 4-3-3 every week. This is going to be the starting lineup, and if any of them let me down, I'll chuck one of you guys in. Everybody keeps showing it on the training pitch. I think he'll actually save himself, but he won't because he's too stubborn.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is what big teams do. You have your set formation, and if you've got an injury, you'll swap it. If someone's got down form, no one keeps changing their formations at the beginning of every game. I think it's the last 7 games, he's had 7 different formations. It's ridiculous.
I know. Anyway, listen, guys, I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah,
I've got. I'm going on. I don't know if any of you have heard the the Arse Brothers rank cast. The Aussie guys, it's actually really, really good podcast. I'm going on that for 9 o'clock.
Is that a new one, Andrew? I've never heard of that before.
I only recently discovered it, and I can't stop listening to it now. I'm listening to the back catalogue. I don't know exactly how long it's been going on for, but there's quite a few episodes you can listen to, and it's absolutely brilliant. There's 2 Aussie guys who are brothers. There's an American guy. And there's a guy from London called Manny. I don't know if you've ever heard of Manny. He's been on the...
Have you heard of Manny, Andrew? I'm fucking from Manny, mate.
yeah. Accent.
0161.
Anyway, I'm going to go on that.
Nytram, that's where I'm from, mate. That's my area code, 0161.
You don't say.
Putting Manny on the map, mate.
Manny
Good on you.
Manny Riz, I'll tell you what, he's a very, I don't think he's meant to be, but he's a very, very funny guy. But he's got some very good, strong opinions, but he makes me laugh an awful lot. But yeah, definitely give it a listen. But I'm going to be recording with them at, they said sometime between 8:30 and 9, so I best get a move on. But I'll tell you what, I'd love to have all of you guys back on the show. I've really, really enjoyed that. It's gone completely off piste. It's gone completely off piste. We didn't do what we set out to do, but I think it's... Well, I feel a lot better. I feel like I've got a bit of a weight off my shoulders with a lot of the stuff we talked about today. I genuinely hope we hear something in the next day or 2. But
yeah, definitely.
clearly not going to be before tomorrow.
No, don't get
Yeah,
your
you'll have to set up a post one, Andrew. You have to do a post-second podcast.
Yes, exactly. Definitely. Well, 100% I'll be doing that. Definitely.
Yeah.
But thank you all. Thank you for coming on. Sorry, you want to say something else, Si?
I was just going to say, I think he's gone if he loses either of the next 2 games. I don't see him surviving. Even though tomorrow's a bit of a nothing game result-wise, I think if we don't turn up tomorrow, he'll be gone. I don't see him making it till weekend. I don't.
I just hope they don't win the next 2. Not in a bad way. Obviously, I also want Arsenal to win, but I just don't hope the board uses it as an excuse if he does win the next 2 games and go, oh, see, he's turned it around, because he needs to go. Whatever the results are the next 2 games, he has to be gone.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's 100% gone. It's just a matter of when. And I just hope it don't go on too much longer, because I can't watch this football anymore. And every point is important. Every point is important, as we found out last season. And just very, very quickly before we go, Melvin Marks, he said, shouldn't the players take responsibility? 100%, Melvin, but I think they have been. And that's what I said earlier. I genuinely think they have been. I don't think we would have won against Villa, and I don't think we would have drawn against Spurs if they hadn't taken responsibility. And I don't think they could be playing much better than they are at the moment under this guy. Anyway, just finish with that. But thank you very much indeed for all of you again. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like. Likes are really, really important to get the video noticed, and so hopefully we can get some more viewers in the future. So please do that. Please share it with your friends as well. And there'll be an audio version of this show coming out shortly after. But thanks a lot, guys. And I really appreciate all you guys, panel. And I hope will consider coming back on the show again very soon.
Definitely. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you
Definitely.
very much.
Take care, gents.
Can you also just very quickly tell everyone how they can follow you or watch your content themselves as well?
So,
Si.
Yeah, go ahead, Si.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is me at SiCo, Manc. There you go, on Twitter. And I do have a YouTube channel called Gunner Talk. All one word, Gunner Talk. Just basically a fat-headed Manc talking a bit of nonsense about Arsenal. So
I really
give it a follow if you fancy.
Definitely give that a subscription. So
I'll be getting you on mine soon, and the same applies to you guys. You know, if you ever want to come on mine, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, anytime, guys.
Just one more thing, Nytram. I've just seen that you followed me, mate. So I'll follow you back in a minute. Apologies.
No worries, mate. Of course.
Nytram, how do they follow you?
Yeah, Nytram Gooner. It's Nytram. It's actually my first name backwards. But I'll no problem. It's my first name backwards, so I'll leave you to figure out what my actual name is. It's Nytram Gooner. I'm on YouTube and on Twitter.
Fantastic. Excellent. And your YouTube videos are really entertaining as well. Very good.
Oh, thank you.
So definitely give that a sub as well. LeAfrican Gooner. What about yourself?
So for me, it's at LeAfrican Gooner on Twitter, and I just recently started a YouTube channel last week, and so I'm putting out a bunch of Arsenal content as well. I was also the first guest on Si's channel, so make sure to check out that video if you have some time. I thought that was a pretty good one as well.
Definitely was.
I thought I was brilliant, to be honest.
No, it was a good show. I enjoyed it, definitely. So thank you all, and I will catch you on the next one very soon. Take care all. Thank you, guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.